It's unfortunate that so much negativity has taken place. And it's also unfortunate that the subsequent leaderships, especially in the last 6 to 8 years, have not been able to understand why we are having these problems. These problems of insecurity they are not, strictly speaking, the creation of any one administration. What has happened is that a new national order was instituted in 1970 after the Civil War, which united the country, made it dependent on X number of states, unified the military command, unified the police command, unified all these, created unity schools, created NYSC and all that. That architecture has been the basis of stability up to this moment. But if you look at world history, every national order, every international order comes up for review after 45 to 50 years. If you do not, the forces at play will begin to disintegrate that order. And that's what we are witnessing. The rise of ethnic nationalism, regional nationalism, militancy, challenging the federal order, that's what we are getting. The challenge of government is to understand and see how to amend the structure. That's one. Then, if you go beyond that point, you also find that there is a crisis of resource management. It does not seem to me that the management of resources has kept pace with the population growth. So many universities, they are still establishing more. So many universities, so many schools. From population, we are about 215, 220 million people now. And there doesn't seem to have been a sufficient engagement of the system to provide for this. Then the forces of ethnic nationalism, of regionalism, have become weaponized and militarized, challenging the federal authority, which does not have the resources to contain them. So that's why bandits outgun the federal army, secessionist militias threaten, resource control militias threaten. And the only way you can maintain stability is if the federal authority, which is the guarantor of our unity, is in a position to overwhelm the forces challenging it. Currently, that is not able to take place. Now, go back to IBB. He foresaw this. Do you recall that IBB tried to establish a National Guard?
I was going to
Very good. As an intermediate force.
At the twilight?
Yes. So towards the end of his administration,
yes,
he tried to establish a National Guard. And interacting with him, I asked him, and he said to me, the police is too civil to deal with the forces that will be at play in future. The military is too militant, it's too military. It is not designed for internal security, it's designed for external enemy. When the military asks you enemy or friend, and you say you are a friend, come this way. If you say you're an enemy, they shoot you. So he said, we need an intermediate force, something that is not as vicious as the military, but it's not as tame as the police, because there will be hot spots challenging the federal authority. This is Babangida himself. Therefore, we need a National Guard with state contingents. They know those hot spots. They are familiar with the hot spots, but people also know that they have an overwhelming force to keep the peace. Oh, but Nigerians at that point, it was he's establishing a force to stay in power indefinitely. And people weren't rational. They didn't think that a full-blooded military president with all the powers of a commander-in-chief, if he wanted to stay back in power, he doesn't need to establish National Guard. He will use the existing military force and the police to remain in power. All he needs to do is to remove his uniform, wake up the following morning and declare for one of the parties, and he will win. So he didn't need National Guard, but people shouted the National Guard down because training was already taking place. There was already a commandant. There were all kinds of things.
They had already started their...
Yes, mobilization. Yes. And this would have saved us some of what we are seeing today. Because all we would have done on a state-by-state basis to call in the National Guard, as America did when Trump began to marshal all the troublemakers and there was protest all over America. What did they do? Contingents of the National Guard, instead of bringing Marines onto the streets. But that opportunity was missed in the heat of our usual political rascality. So that's what happened. So this, but let me end on this note. There are a number of things. I understand the sentiments of Nigerians. This is not what we planned for. We didn't plan for herdsmen to be shooting people. We didn't plan for militia. We didn't plan for IPOB or this and all that. But there are a few things that should give us solace. Nigerians want to remain one. Nigerians want a peaceful country. They want, at the end of the day, they want. So there are a number of things that will not happen. One, Nigeria will not disintegrate. There will be no Biafra. There will be no Oduduwa Republic. There will be no Arewa Republic. The change that must come in 2023 must be the kind of leadership that douses the tension, and it must be a transformative statesmanship that reassures every Nigerian that irrespective of the size of your kaftan, irrespective of which tongue, we are all one people, and that the challenges we have are challenges of development, of conquering poverty,